So the 2050 plan, for those of you not aware, was a plan developed several years ago, I would say now. And I actually served on one of the subcommittees for that plan, working on the community placemaking subcommittee. And our job was to make sure that we took into account the overall communities and neighborhoods within our city to ensure the long-term stability and the kind of growth that we're going to be expecting. And like I said before, that's a big topic in our community right now. So I think every single year we need to be looking at, are we continuing to prioritize what's in the 2050 plan? That's a very comprehensive plan, as it's put, and there are a lot of action items that I believe the City Council can work towards with other community stakeholders to make sure that we accomplish. In that, and serving on the City Council for a few years now, we've taken up a lot of those projects already, and some are currently underway. I think it's also important that we constantly take a look at that plan to make sure that it's revised when needed so that it's currently up to date with our community. Some important things of the plan, though, was that we were going to continue to be a welcoming and vibrant community, that we were going to respect the culture and history that we have. And so I think that's important to hold on to. We want to make sure that Kerrville remains a place that we love to call it home, that led us to stay here, and for even some to move here to Kerrville. And so the 2050 plan should be the core of everything that we do in our community. It has been for many years, and as mayor, I'll make sure to continue working on those core visions that our citizens put together.
2050 plan was devised and worked on by over 400 citizens. What they basically said is, this is what we want Kerrville to be. It is important for city councils to work to achieve those goals. In the past year, we've worked on several of those goals. One of those was diversifying the income stream for the city of Kerrville. But also we've worked on improving the downtown area, which was one of the goals. We're working on expanding the river trail, another of the goals. We are working to attract new businesses to diversify the tax base, like we've already said, and I'm trying to think, and working with organizations like Habitat for Humanity to expand workforce housing, which was another 2050 plan. I think this council has been working really hard to not only fulfill the 2050 plan, but to make sure it's done in a responsible and sustainable way.
Well, the 2050 plan, as I look through it, there are a lot of good things in the 2050 plan. But I think we do occasionally need to look back at some of the assumptions that were made at the time the 2050 plan was implemented, make sure that those assumptions are proving true as far as population growth, jobs created, just our progress, and make sure that we're still on track. In a practical sense, though, the 2050 plan I've seen repeatedly when I go to city council meetings, it is selectively used. And I'll give you an example of that. There was one development that was put before planning and zoning and then in turn was taken before the city council, that in the 2050 plan, that particular parcel was recommended for low density housing, or even parkland, open land. And that's what the 2050 plan called for. What was being considered was medium and high density housing on this piece of property. And yet, the proposal to City Council included a recommendation saying that this was part of the 2050 plan. Well, for that particular parcel, it was not at all. So we need to be very transparent with how we're using the 2050 plan. Are we only picking and choosing it at certain times, or are we actually deviating from it while we claim to be addressing it? It's a good plan, but we need to revisit it and we need to make sure that we're sticking to it.
Well, we're actively working on the 2050 plan every single day. It's like our Bible. It's what the community is demanding from their council, is that we help them reach the goals that they outlined in their 2050 plan. That includes quality of life projects. It includes attainable housing. It includes water conservation. So we're actively working on those things every single day. And I operate with a trust but verify philosophy. And we've got a great team at the city. We talk every day. And they are on top of every project that we're striving to complete in order to maintain the vision of that 2050 plan.
Well, my goals to accomplish the 2050 plan are to make sure that we incrementalize the 2050 plan. I've noticed sitting in council chambers, there's a lot of funding that goes on, and kind of as they're going out the door with the dollar, they say, oh, and by the way, this is in keeping with the 2050 plan. I have a 6-month-old granddaughter. In 2050, I'll be dead. In 2050, she'll be 27. She's going to need a job. She's going to need a home she can afford, and she's going to need a community that's not morally or fiscally bankrupt. And so I'm very worried about the sustainability of Kerrville if we get too far out over our skis on the 2050 plan. All it takes is about a 5 to 10 year downturn in the economy where people don't come visit. We always have an attrition of the older seniors dying off or moving away to live with their kids or something of that nature. And then all of a sudden the real estate values start to go down. And then how are we going to keep maintaining this 2050 spending spree with the taxes that we can only collect from those people that are still remaining here? I'm old enough and been around enough to know that when you do some of those kind of forward planning, you do it in a very arithmetic and straight level. But nothing in life goes straight. And so there's going to be times that things are better, and there's going to be times that things are worse. I'm just worried that if we don't watch it, we're going to put ourselves in a position that when times get worse, we're going to see a much greater depreciation in all of our core value, which is our real estate. Ever since I've been here, and I've been in real estate the whole time, we've always appreciated about 6% a year, and it's always outpaced inflation. Lately, we've had some real runaway things that I'm afraid some of that money is going to go back to money heaven.